In a small town called Maplewood, where green hills merged with winding streams, I grew up in peace and simplicity. Maplewood had no tall buildings or dazzling neon lights, but it offered tree-lined streets, charming old houses with white picket fences, and the gentle chimes of wind bells whenever the breeze blew. Life here moved slowly and warmly, as if time itself wanted to pause and savor every moment. My family lived in a small wooden house with a porch full of flowers and wicker chairs that swayed naturally. My father, Peter, was a skilled carpenter. His hands were rough from years of labor, but whenever he touched wood, they became incredibly gentle and skillful. He not only created beautiful furniture, but also taught me about perseverance and humility. He often said the more natural the wood, the easier it is to create something valuable. Just like people, the most precious things are always inside. My mother, Margaret, was an elementary school teacher. Every afternoon as the soft sunlight streamed through the window, she would sit at the dining table, preparing lesson plans or reading thick books. She had a warm, soothing voice, and whenever she told stories, I felt like I was lost in a fairy tale world where every dream could come true. My mother not only taught me knowledge but also inspired in me a love for the simple things, the true values of life. My childhood passed through vibrant springs filled with peach blossoms and winters covered in white snow. Every morning I woke up to the cheerful chirping of birds, joining my father in the woodshop, breathing in the fresh scent of newly cut wood. In the afternoons I walked with my mother along the streamside paths, listening to her share the wonders hidden in old books. Maplewood taught me how to love the little things, how to cherish each moment, and how to find happiness in the simplest of things. Everything started to change one summer afternoon when I met Elijah. It was a bright, sunny day and I was at the local library, a place I often visited to borrow books and find a bit of tranquility. The Maplewood Library wasn't big, but its neatly arranged old bookshelves and the blend of aged paper and rustic wood created an incredibly pleasant space. I was engrossed in searching for a book on interior design when I heard someone ask, "Do you know where I can find books on art history?" I turned around and saw Elijah, with wavy light brown hair and deep blue eyes. He wore a light blue shirt and simple jeans, looking completely different from what I imagined a city person to be. Elijah introduced himself as being from New York, where his family was well known in the real estate business. I was a bit surprised to see him in Maplewood, a place that seemed too quiet for someone used to the bustling pace of the city. Despite coming from two different worlds, we quickly found a connection through everyday stories. Elijah told me about the skyscrapers, the lavish art exhibitions in New York, while I shared with him about the Harvest Festival in Maplewood, the lakeside picnics, and the joy of sitting under the porch listening to the rain. Our conversations were like two small streams, slowly merging into one. We began to meet more often, sometimes at the library, sometimes at the town's central park. Maplewood Park had a wooden bench under an ancient tree where every afternoon sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting playful light patterns on the ground. It became our familiar spot, where time seemed to stand still, leaving only our endless stories. Elijah had a gentle way of speaking, sometimes with humorous stories about his New York neighbors, other times with deep reflections about his family. He spoke a lot about his mother Vivian, a strong and perfectionist woman. Elijah admired his mother but couldn't help but worry about her high expectations for him. "She wants me to become the perfect heir to the family," he sighed. "But sometimes, I just want to find a peaceful place where I don't have to prove anything." I listened and shared with him the things my parents had taught me, that a person's true value doesn't lie in status or wealth, but in how they treat others and the good they leave in people's hearts. Elijah listened intently, his eyes reflecting understanding and appreciation. "You've made me realize that I've probably missed out on many meaningful things while chasing expectations," he said. Our relationship developed naturally and gently. There were no grand declarations of love or showy romantic gestures. Instead, it was peaceful afternoons together, gentle hand-holding and knowing smiles. Elijah gradually became a part of my life, as if he had always belonged here, where true values were cherished above all. When autumn came, the park's trees turned vibrant shades of red and gold. Elijah and I sat on our familiar wooden bench, watching the leaves drift slowly in the wind. "Have you ever thought about leaving Maplewood?" he asked, his voice warm. I smiled. "I love this place, but if there's someone beside me who makes me feel at home anywhere, then I would go." Elijah said nothing, just gently squeezed my hand like a promise unspoken. Each passing day, I realized more and more that Elijah's presence not only brought me a beautiful love, but also opened up a new world before me, a world where dreams could soar beyond Maplewood's hills, yet still hold on to the warmth and sincerity of where I grew up. My relationship with Elijah deepened over time. We not only shared joyful moments but also confided in each other about our worries and struggles. Elijah often spoke to me about his family, especially his mother Vivian. She was a sophisticated woman, always appearing perfectly composed, from her meticulously styled hair to her tailored outfits. However, beneath her gentle exterior was a mother with very high expectations for her son. Elijah once told me that Vivian always hoped he would marry someone well-matched, a girl with a strong family background, high education, and someone who fit the family's image in the eyes of high society. This made Elijah understandably anxious about introducing me to her. "I'm afraid my mom won't accept you," he sighed, his eyes reflecting a hint of worry. "She always believes that anyone who comes near me is only interested in my family, not me." I understood Elijah's feelings. I had never imagined I would face such strict standards. Life in Maplewood taught me to judge people by their hearts, not by their wallets or social status. But because I loved Elijah, I knew I needed to be strong. "We'll get through this together," I said, gently squeezing his hand. "If our love is true, your mom will eventually understand." The day Elijah brought me home to meet his family, I couldn't help but feel nervous. His family's mansion in the suburbs of New York was surrounded by lush green trees and meticulously maintained gardens. As we walked in, I immediately sensed the elegance of the place but also a bit of distance. Vivian greeted us in the foyer with a polite smile, but her eyes held a scrutinizing gaze. "You're Anna, right?" she said, her tone light but somewhat distant. "Elijah has told me so much about you. It's interesting to finally meet you." Dinner took place in a grand dining room with a long wooden table draped in pristine white linen and a sparkling chandelier overhead. The food was beautifully presented, but I couldn't fully enjoy it due to Vivian's loaded questions. She had no hesitation in bringing up my background, my parents' jobs, and the simple life in Maplewood. "I heard your father's a carpenter?" "That's quite rare nowadays," she said with a slight chuckle, but I could clearly hear the condescension in her voice. Elijah tried to steer the conversation away, but Vivian persisted. "And your mother is an elementary school teacher, right? That's certainly a noble profession. However, you must understand that life here requires a bit more than that." I could feel Elijah's eyes on me, as if he was silently apologizing on his mother's behalf. I smiled, keeping my tone calm. "Yes, my parents are hardworking people, and I am proud of that. Even though they didn't start with much, they always taught me that a person's value lies in their character and sincerity." That evening ended with a heavy atmosphere. On the way home, Elijah couldn't stop apologizing. "I didn't think my mom would act like that. I'm really sorry." I just shook my head. "It's okay, I understand. The important thing is that we're together." However, the meetings that followed did not improve. Vivian seemed to never miss a chance to imply that I was not a good fit for her family. Every word from her felt like a needle pricking at my self-esteem. But I tried not to let it affect me because I knew Elijah truly loved me. When Elijah proposed, I felt both happiness and worry. We decided to have a small, cozy wedding in Maplewood, with our family and close friends. But right from the start of planning, I sensed the difficulties coming from his mother. Vivian involved herself in every detail, from the wedding dress and flowers to the reception menu. There was nothing she didn't interfere with. "Anna, don't you think this wedding dress is a bit too simple?" she asked when I tried on the dress I loved. "A daughter-in-law of this family should stand out, make an impression. This dress looks too ordinary." I knew I couldn't please her, but I remained steadfast in my choice. Elijah was always by my side, encouraging me. "This is our day. Don't let anyone make you feel bad." I felt his love and support, which was my greatest motivation to overcome every challenge. The wedding day arrived with beautiful weather as we had hoped. The venue was decorated with wild flowers and small lanterns, capturing the simplicity and romance of Maplewood. When I walked down the aisle, the look in Elijah's eyes was filled with love and pride. But I also noticed Vivian sitting there, her sharp gaze following my every step. The reception was warm until Vivian stood up to speak. "Today I am very happy that my son has found happiness," she began, her voice gentle but with an underlying tone. Elijah has always had a generous heart, always ready to help those in need, and I think today is a testament to that." Her words brought a sudden hush over the room. I could feel all eyes turning towards me. Vivian's words felt like daggers, implying that I was merely lucky to be rescued by Elijah. At that moment, Eleanor, Elijah's grandmother, stood up. "Vivian, that's enough," she said, her voice strong and unwavering. "Perhaps everyone here has forgotten that before becoming the lady of this house you were a maid working in this very home. You were once loved and welcomed, so why are you treating Anna this way today?" The room fell silent. All eyes shifted to Vivian, who sat there with a pale face. Eleanor continued, "Our family values love and sincerity, not background or status. Anna is a wonderful girl and I am very proud to have her in our family." Eleanor's words were like a fresh breeze, clearing the stifling atmosphere. The guests broke into applause, and for the first time that day I felt truly accepted. Elijah held my hand tightly, his eyes filled with gratitude and deep love. I knew that from this moment on, I was no longer alone on this journey. The family meeting took place on a Sunday afternoon at Mrs. Eleanor's mansion. Soft light filtered through the large windows, illuminating the spacious yet cozy living room. I sat next to Elijah, his hand tightly holding mine, offering silent support as the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Mrs. Vivian sat opposite us, her face showing a mix of fatigue and worry, a stark contrast to her usual prideful demeanor. Mrs. Eleanor began the meeting with a calm yet firm voice. "We need to have a serious conversation about what happened at Anna and Elijah's wedding. The inappropriate words and thoughtless actions not only hurt Anna but also affected the family's honor." The room fell so silent that the ticking of the wall clock could be heard. I could feel everyone's eyes in the room shift toward Mrs. Vivian. She sat upright, but her eyes lowered slightly, avoiding her mother-in-law's gaze. "I've already apologized," Mrs. Vivian spoke up, her voice soft but with a hint of defiance. "What more do you want me to do?" "An apology is just the beginning, Vivian," said Mr. Daniel, her husband. "What matters more is a change in attitude and behavior. You can't keep looking down on others just because of their background." Mrs. Eleanor nodded in agreement. "Daniel is right. For many years you've received financial support from the family, yet you've never truly appreciated it. Your recent actions show that you need to learn how to be independent and understand the real value of life." Mrs. Vivian looked at her mother-in-law in disbelief, her eyes widening. "Mother, what do you mean?" "Starting next month, the family will stop providing financial support. It's time for you to manage on your own and contribute to the family. We cannot continue to enable this selfishness and lack of responsibility any longer." The air in the room seemed to freeze. Mrs. Vivian bit her lip, her hands clasped tightly together. I could clearly see the confusion on her face. She had always lived under the protection of her husband's family, never having to worry about finances. The thought of having to earn a living herself was a major shock to her. "Elijah, do you also agree with this decision?" She turned her gaze to her son as if searching for a last glimmer of hope. Elijah nodded slightly, his voice calm but resolute. "I love you, Mom, but I think this is necessary. You need to understand that respect must come from both sides. Anna has tried very hard to fit in with our family, but you kept putting pressure on her. I can't stand by and watch that continue." Mrs. Vivian leaned back in her chair, her face blank. Mr. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder, but she quickly shrugged it off, her eyes beginning to glisten with tears. "All of you are against me," she said, her voice hoarse. "If you all want me to leave, then fine." She stood up and walked quickly out of the room. The wooden door closed behind her, creating a heavy sound that echoed through the silent space. After the tense family meeting, Elijah and I decided to go on our honeymoon to temporarily escape the pressures of family life. We chose a coastal village in Maine where white sandy beaches stretched endlessly and gentle waves lapped the shore. Our days together passed in absolute peace. Elijah and I walked along the beach, enjoyed fresh seafood meals, and watched the sunsets paint the sky with shades of red. "It's so peaceful here," I said as we sat on the sand, our bare feet touching the gentle waves. Elijah wrapped his arm around me, pulling me closer. "I wish we could stay here forever, away from all the troubles." I smiled, feeling the sincerity in his voice. "But eventually we have to return to reality. I believe we are strong enough to overcome anything." When we returned home, we noticed a significant change in the family atmosphere. Mrs. Vivian was no longer in the mansion. Mrs. Eleanor said that after the meeting Mrs. Vivian had moved out, rented a small apartment in the suburbs and started looking for a job. The news left me both surprised and relieved. Perhaps being independent would help Mrs. Vivian reevaluate everything, including how she treated me. Mr. Daniel also revealed that he was considering divorce. I've tried for many years to keep the family together, but perhaps it's time I thought about myself. I want to live a peaceful life, without the unnecessary stress. Elijah and I sat quietly, listening. I understood that this decision was not easy for him. No matter what, Mr. Daniel deserved true happiness. Life after the upheaval became lighter. The family began having intimate gatherings without the previous heaviness. Mrs. Eleanor maintained her calm and dignified presence but also opened up more to me, treating me as a true part of the family. Elijah and I moved into our own place, a small but cozy home in the suburbs. I began pursuing my passion for interior design, while Elijah returned to work with a more optimistic spirit. We built our home together, planning for the future. Every morning, waking up next to him, I felt grateful for everything I had. The changes in Elijah's family brought about a fresh start. The cracks gradually healed through sincerity and love. Mrs. Vivian, despite facing certain difficulties, also began rebuilding her life. She found a job in event planning and gradually learned to be independent. Sometimes, she would visit us, no longer the proud woman she once was, but a mother who truly knew how to listen and respect her children. My journey from Maplewood to Elijah's family was full of challenges, but I believe every trial was a valuable lesson. Love and perseverance helped me navigate through every storm, ultimately leading me to true happiness with the people I loved. My story with Elijah is a clear example that love and patience can overcome any barrier. From a small-town girl, I learned to stand strong against prejudice and judgment. The challenges within Elijah's family not only made me stronger, but also brought positive changes to everyone. In the end, true happiness comes from living sincerely, cherishing good values, and always being open to new opportunities. What do you think about Anna and Elijah's story? Do you relate to their journey of overcoming challenges? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to follow the channel to not miss out on more engaging and genuine family life stories in upcoming videos.